Hey, it's Sean, and this is Midwest Chick Crafts. Today, I'm going to use a program called Sew It Pro, and I'm going to use that program to show you how I pull letters in that I buy from another designer, and I create an embroidery file to stitch out onto a hand towel. I hope that you enjoy. I hope that you find it useful. Stick around and let's get started. Okay, well, as soon as I start recording, the dog starts barking down the hallway, but that's fine. He's down there with my son. This is Sean Renee, and this is Midwest Chick Crafts. I am doing a quick video using Sew It Pro, showing you how I create my files to embroider onto towels or whatever you're going to embroider. So I already have Sew It Pro opened, and what I'm going to do, I want to find the letters or the fonts that I want to use to actually stitch out. And what I'll do, I'll show you where I keep them at. I have a flash drive that is separate. I keep all of my files on a separate flash drive just so that if my computer crashes, I don't lose all the files that I've bought. I have an area titled fonts that I have some, but I have one designer that is like my go-to for all of my embroidery files as far as fonts are concerned. And that is Designs by Juju. So I have a separate folder within this flash drive just with files that I purchased from her. So for this particular file or design, I should say, I am going to stitch it out in a font that I like called Typewriter, okay? And so if I could figure out where it's at, I guess it'll be under T's. And I am using a Brother machine, so the Brother that I have reads both DST and .pes files. And I am going to do this with a 2-inch letter size. So let me find my 2-inch letters. And I know that there is another way to do the importing of your letters. I do it the old way because I've been using Sew It Pro for a while now. And so I do it the long way. I don't know how to use that BX format and all of that stuff. If that is actually, you know, the new way that they say that they can do it. See, I've not really looked into it. But anyways, back to this. I'm going to stitch out just a last name. Now I know that I'm going to be using a Brother machine, so I'm going to switch it to Brother, and I'm going to scroll down and find my 6x10 font or 10x6 font because that's how I'm going to stitch it. And I'm just going to line it up to the best of my ability to keep them straight. Now that I have the first letter, I could click this little ICOV icon and it'll pull up those letters that are on that flash drive. So I could select them a little bit quicker without having to go through the file and finding each letter one by one. What I do have to always do is make sure I am in the correct size because I don't have these letters separated by size. So I'll pull up the first letter to see that is the correct size. So I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to stay within this frame as far as this area of letters to make sure that I'm giving you the right size. But you'll see what I'm doing. And let me line this over here. E-R-E-T-T-E. Okay, so since I don't have anything else to put in here and I lined up the first two letters, most of the letters will fall in place correctly, and I do like the way that these are spaced out. It does fall outside of the actual hoop, so I will show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go over here so that I have all of my letters. You know, if you don't merge them together or join them together, you'll have a bunch of separate letters. But I want all of this to merge as one color, one stitch. So I'm going to go up here to Edit, and I'm going to select Join Threads. And I'm going to join all threads same color because this is just one color that I want to stitch out. I don't want to go through changing a bunch of colors. And I'm going to hit OK. So voila, we have one color, one stitch, or not one stitch. There's like 7,344 stitches for this design, but one color to stitch out, one thread change. So I'm going to line this up in the center and see where it falls. Now I know I have a 6x10 hoop. However, it's going to be a little bit less than 10 inches. So while up here, it's telling me that I have 9.98 as far as the width is concerned, I do want to make that a little bit smaller just to be safe. And I know a lot of people will tell you when you buy their designs, it is not a guarantee that that design will stitch out properly if you go through and resize it. Okay. So I'm not telling you to just buy designs and resize them, but I'm pretty confident with this particular font, I can resize and it'll be okay. So while I have all of these selected, I am going to go up here to Tools. And then I'm going to go down to Resize Pattern. And I don't want it to be real small, but while all these are checked off, I have Lock Aspect Ratio checked off, Auto Adjust Stitch Density is checked off, and Measure and Percentage of Initial Size is checked off, so that everything will all be balanced when I resize it. I'm only gonna do this by about 98%, which typing in 98 really reduces it by 2%, okay? It took me a minute to get a hang of that, but when you put in 98%, it really reduces it by 2%. So if you wanted to reduce something by 15%, you would type in 85%. But I only want to reduce this by about 2%, so I'm going to put 98. And when I put 98 in the width, because everything is checked off, the Lock Aspect Ratio is checked off, it will also adjust the height by 98%, and everything will still be in the same proportion. So I'm going to click OK, and that brings it down to 9.78, which I do know for my hoop, that will be a good size for that stitch out. I always want to make sure my design is balanced in the middle here. And I'm just going to bring it down because it's going to go on a towel, and I don't want it really too far up. So now I have it the way I want it. I'm going to click File, Save As, and you save this file to wherever you want. I put mine on flash drives. So I'm going to come out of here because I'm going to put this under, I guess I'll put this under Customer Personalized so that I'll know where it's at. And I'm going to just save this. And this is, let's see here, GENERETTE. Oh, that's, yeah. And this is typewriter font. And I have another one saved already as typewriter font, but that's a different size. So I'm just going to specify that this is the 2-inch one. I'm not the best typer at all. Okay, so I'm going to click Save. And so now that is saved on my flash drive. Now, this is my main flash drive that I keep designs on. My machine, I don't want to have a whole bunch of designs to have to surf through, and it won't read and open up folders. So I have a completely different flash drive that I use specifically for transferring designs to the machine itself. So it's extra work, but it allows me to save a file without having to go through and recreate it if I happen to have to type this out or stitch this out again. So I'm going to save it on this flash drive here. And this will be the flash drive that I'll actually put into the machine. So I'll hit save over here. And I'm going to find this flash drive, which I've not named because I just keep designs on it while I'm using them. And it's saved to this. So now I will go and take this flash drive and carry it over to the machine and upload it to the machine so it can be stitched out. Okay, so it occurred to me that because of the way I'm recording, you may not have been able to clearly see what I was clicking when I was putting this design together. So when I initially go through to pull letters in or pull a design in Sew Up Pro, I go up to this file folder here. Okay, and that will open up a box where you can go through and find whatever design you're looking for depending on where you saved it. I keep all of my designs on a flash drive, so I just click on that flash drive and then I go through and find my designs. Okay, so once I have the designs in here, I could click on this IC. Is that ICONV? I've never really paid attention to what those letters are up there, but I click on that and it will allow me to actually go through and pull in all the separate letters without having to search through the flash drive. Now, because I clicked on customer personalized folder, it will pull up the last folder, but if I click that delete albums button, it will open up this and it'll allow me to select what files I want to delete. And that's just, you know, what's recently been opened. And so now my typewriter font is the first one that's showing. And then I can go through and select the fonts or designs or what have you according to what I need. And when that's all done, I click that same button again. And then while this has already been merged, if there were multiple colors, you know, or multiple stitch places, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all the same color, and I wanted everything to be one stitch, I would highlight that design, or yeah, bring it into focus, or whatever you term it, and then I will click edit. And you have an option to order threads, which will allow you to change the order in which threads are stitched out, delete threads, join threads. So I would click join threads. And because I would want all threads of the same color to be joined, I'd click that and then click OK. And all of the threads that are Prussian blue would be joined together. Okay. And then to resize, because I want to make sure that it actually fits within the hoop that I'm going to be using, I would make sure that it was selected, which means it has this box around it, you see. And then I would go up and I want to resize. So I'm going to go to Tools. Where's my mouse at? Okay, I'm going to go to Tools. And then I'm going to go down to Resize Pattern. This box will open up. And then this is where I was saying you have your width and height, but you want everything to stay in the same ratio. So you make sure your lock aspect ratio is checked off, your auto adjust is checked off, and measure and percent of initial size is checked off so that everything will stay balanced. If I highlight that, change it to 98 or 95. Actually, I want to do 98. Then I click OK, and it will bring it down just 2%, because putting in 98 is really 2% away from 100. So that 2% difference is what you're going to actually get. So like I said before, if you wanted to be reduced by 15%, make it 85, and then you will have it reduced by 15%. And that's the same way if you want to increase the size. Add 5% to make it 105%. That'll give you an additional 5% on the size. It does not work for all designs. Some designs are particular and you cannot resize them, but that is just a feature that is within Sew What Pro that is helpful at times. So, you know, most digitizers will tell you that if you change the size of the design, they cannot guarantee that it will stitch out correctly. Okay. But I just wanted to try to zoom in closer so that you could see exactly what I was talking about, because I was, you know, aware after the fact that you might not be able to see exactly what the buttons were that I was clicking. So let's go to the next step. Okay. So before we actually put the hoop design and all of that stuff on the machine, we need to hoop our item that's going to be embroidered. So for this project, because I'm going to be stitching onto a towel, a hand towel, I'm going to use some tearaway, and then I'm also going to use some solvay on top, and I'll show you how I do this. The tearaway stabilizer, I just try to make sure I have enough to cover the hoop. I never use my fabric scissors for paper or stabilizer. Always use a separate pair. Try to keep your good scissors intact for as long as possible. Cut that. Move that back out of the way. And I am one who likes to float items. I rarely actually hoop an item, putting it underneath the hoop. Most people do actually hoop their products. I like to float mine. I like my pins, and I used to use a lot of the spray adhesive. I kind of got away from the spray adhesive, and I'll show you why in a moment. But let me just get this hooped. I hooped the stabilizer. You always want to make sure the stabilizer is in good, that your hoop is tight. And when you have your stabilizer hooped right, it'll kind of sound like a drum. So that's in there. I have a lot of extra on the outside, though. I'm going to just cut that out of the way because I'm not going to do anything with that. But if you decide to trim your stabilizer away, don't get too close because you don't want it to slip out and get loose on you, okay? So there is a trash can over there. I'm not just throwing stuff on the floor, okay? For this towel, I want to make sure that it is centered, so it's kind of easy to do that. I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm going to put it right down here. In your hoop, let me show you real quick, just in case you don't know. There's a marker right here and right here that divides the hoop in half, horizontal and vertically, okay? So you have your horizontal markings here and your vertical markings here. So you can actually line your items up pretty decently. Pretty well, actually. And I'm going to put that on here. I hope that you can see. And I'm just going to hold my finger right there. I have some straight pins over here. I'm going to pin the first part in place. And I'm hoping that that does get captured. I don't have a camera person. So now I have this on the hoop and it's lined up pretty much where I want it to be at. I'll put a pin up here so it doesn't shift on me. You do not want to put this on your machine like this. This terry cloth, all these little hoops, this stuff will, you'll be crying. Just put it like that. This is Solvay. It's a water soluble stabilizer. Some people call it toppers. And I just measure out enough to cover up the design area. And once again, I'm not using my fabric scissors. I'm going to use these scissors to cut it. I'm going to put that on top. That will keep your stitches from sinking into the product. And it'll keep your needle from getting caught on all those loops with the terry cloth. Because that'll be a sheer disaster if you don't cover it with something. I don't get into all the what else can I use besides Solvay, because this is the only product that I do use on top of any of my terry cloth products. It works and I've not had a problem with it, so I kind of stick with what I know. Sorry for all the sniffing. My allergies and crap has been out of control. But I'm just going to pin these in place. And it's out of the way of the design because I know that technically this has a 9.9 something area. My design is shrunk down a little bit less than that. So I'm going right at the edges just so that the topper doesn't actually get caught up. And the needles won't get caught up, if that makes any sense. Sorry, sometimes I sound like I'm babbling, and I probably am, but hey, welcome to Sean's world. Get that pinned in place. Now, she's ready for the machine. Okay, so now we have the towel hooped and it's on the machine. Now we just need to pull our design to the machine so that it can start stitching. I am using it's a brother machine. It's the Innovis IS VE2200, which is also called the Dreammaker XE. It has a max frame size of 8 by 12 if you buy the extension package. When I bought this machine, I was in a bind. I needed to get this machine because my other one broke down, and I did not buy the extension packet. So the max hoop size I have is a 7 by 12. However, today we're just using the 6 by 10. I've got the flash drive here in the machine, so I'm going to put that back in there. And once it stops flashing, I will know that it's going to be able to read it. I'm going to select embroidery because we're going to just be embroidering. And I'm going to hit this little USB thing symbol so that I can find the designs that are external to the machine. I know what design I want, so I'm going to find it. It's there. I'm going to select embroidery because I do want to stitch that out. Okay. So now technically we're ready to stitch. I do want to show you, because I'm also filming this for a friend of mine who is just getting into embroidery. I want to show you how I thread my machine real quick. And I think I got this thread from Thread Art. Yeah, I got that from Thread Art. I ordered that online. But I'm going to thread it. Always thread with your pressure foot up so that you get your thread into the tension discs and you don't have any issues with that. I love this machine because it has a auto threader that actually works. And actually, I've not had a problem with any of my brother machines because the auto threaders work. They stitch out the way they're supposed to until you've just worn them out, and then you've got to either get them fixed or get them replaced. And my other machine is in the shop right now. But anyways, that's how I thread it, and it works well. So I'm going to press the pressure foot down. You get your green light, which means go. This little lip on this particular machine closes over, so you couldn't thread if the presser foot was down if you wanted to, okay? I love that about this particular machine. Hit start, and it's gonna start stitching. Now, I am not gonna torture you all with watching this whole thing stitch out because it is 23 minutes to stitch out is what it says on my machine. And so I will just stop the video here and I will pick back up when it is complete. Alrighty, and now through the magic of video, we are done. 7,392 stitches completed in 23 minutes. I say we're done, we're almost done. This is the stitch out, how it looks on top of the towel, and this will clean this up, and then we'll take it off the hoop and we'll clean all of this up, and the towel will be ready. So let's get that done. Alrighty, so we're going to get this cleaned up and ready for presentation. I'm going to unpin because you definitely don't want to leave those pins in. And you'll notice I only had 2 pins that were actually under because those were the 2 pins that I used to keep it in place. This here, I'm going to save this because I'm going to do another towel with the same name going across the bottom. And I will have just enough to cover that. That will work. So we're going to save that. Save money where you can with embroidery, okay? Because it's not very cheap to do. And I just lightly break up the salvie that's on top here so that we can get it away from it. I try not to wash these because, you know, there's been a debate in the embroidery world and on a lot of the groups that I'm in on Facebook. Some say that they wash this stuff out, but my thought goes along with a lot of others who say if you wash it, it's not new anymore. So I don't wash or pre-wash anything. I try to make everything as stable as possible so that they will hold up. And I've stitched quite a few of these out in the past, and they wash very well, and they maintain a really nice look to them. So I've got all the salvie that's visible off, and the rest will come off in the wash. And I'm going to take this off of the I don't know why I'm doing this like this, because it's not like I'm going to save this here tearaway. I wish I could. I probably could have for a 4x4, but I don't do many 4x4 designs, so I'm not going to worry about that. Then on the back here, I'm just going to, as easy as you can possibly be without pulling up into the little loops from the terry cloth, just kind of scrape and pull so that you can get that paper up off of there, okay? And, oh goodness, these kids with these video games. I'm sorry, I don't know if you all can hear that in the video or not, but that is the story of our lives right now, because they are not able to go out and play together, and they're all hooked up on Zoom and playing some video game together. I don't know what game it is, but they're excited about it. And there's like 3 of them. Some of my friends, children and grandchildren, they're all online playing together. But anyways, you just try to get, you know, all the paper, tearaway, stabilizer off so that it's out of the way. And this is why I use tearaway and not cutaway. I do see some people will use a cutaway stabilizer, but I don't like the look of the cutaway, because you have to leave some of it on there that will actually be visible, like on the back of clothes. On clothing, yes, I will use the cutaway, but on towels and anything that I'm not actually going to be worried about the way it looks after it's washed and put back on a body, I use tearaway or wash away depending on what the item is. And so after you get all of those off, all of that paper off, you've got your towel and it's ready. I've got one more to do, and I'm not going to bore you all with a video on doing that. But I will get that stitched up and off to the next project. Maybe I'll go and cook dinner and get this kid away from this game for a little while. But here you have it. A nicely embroidered tile. Side note, everybody. Water-soluble stabilizer is supposed to be removed with water. That's the whole purpose of it. You wash it and the stabilizer is gone. However, I just prefer to remove as much as I possibly can before actually needing to apply water to the items that I'm embroidering. So if you do find that in these little creases, little places like that, you do have water-soluble stabilizer stuck in there, get you a Q-tip, okay? Dip it in a little bit of warm water and just dab it just in those areas enough to make it dissolve and go away. And then you're ready to go. Alrighty, everybody, that is it. That is how I do the embroidery that I do on towels, as far as just a single name going across the bottom of a hand towel. Of course, if you're doing a smaller item, a washcloth or something, I would do that the same way. And a larger towel, it would just be larger and I would still do it the same way. Now, keep in mind, my way of doing things may not be the same way you do it. And if you found a way that is helpful for you and it works for you, don't switch just because I'm doing a video on it and it seems to work for me. Because I've tried other people's methods and everyone's method doesn't work for everybody, okay? But if you found this video helpful, give me a thumbs up. If you can't stand it, my voice drags too much sometimes, especially when I'm thinking, give me a thumbs down. That's cool too. But I will be trying to improve my videos over time. I'm new at this whole showing people via video, and we'll see how this works out. Thanks for tuning in, and check back later and see what I'm doing next.